People, you need to be buying altcoins now, or at least Bitcoin now. And there's several pieces of evidence that are accumulating that actually say that we are going to run very soon, assuming the government opens back up. Because if the government doesn't open back up, then it can get kind of troublesome. But that is one of the reasons we're going to run soon, is because the government is opening back up and people will be less afraid. Also, if you read the Fed minutes that just came out a few days ago, Jerome Powell has essentially confirmed we're getting 2 more rate cuts this year, which is 1 more than we thought we would get. And that means that this year the interest rates will have gone down by 75 basis points. Now, that's not enough, but that is a significant chunk to move some of that money in from safer assets to more risky assets. That also makes borrowing money a little bit easier. Now, yes, we're going to get like more rate cuts next year, obviously, especially when Trump's guy comes back in. But successive rate cuts in October and December should really spruce up the market and start that flow of money back in. And I think people are going to front run that. And I think like for crypto, once the ETFs get approved, by the way, so that's actually been pushed back for 2 weeks because the government's been shut down for 2 weeks, obviously. So we're looking at, instead of mid-October, we're looking at early November for that. But more than that, the bull run is not over. And I don't think we can really follow the 4-year cycle anymore, because we do have investors basically, we basically have record Bitcoin ETF inflows right now. If the cycle was about over, we wouldn't have record Bitcoin ETF inflows. We had the second highest week ever just end, basically. And that's what drove us to $125,000. Now, you might say, like, that doesn't really matter because altcoins aren't going up. But if Bitcoin is going up because of the ETFs, it follows that altcoins could actually go up because of the ETFs. So the thing is, like, those are actually coming as soon as the government opens back up, or about 2 or 3 weeks after the government opens back up. And we know that the government can't stay closed forever, right? I mean, I don't think either party has the political will to actually keep it closed for more than a couple of weeks. So as soon as it opens, it could like delay us until like late November before the ETFs come in. It's kind of like throwing a wrench into my timing. I didn't expect the government to randomly shut down and not open back up. But we've seen them play this kind of game before, and crypto is more of a bipartisan thing now. So as soon as it opens back up, I expect things to actually get done. They're also seeing Bitcoin accumulate more money, not only from the whales, but from the sharks as well. What do we mean by sharks? Sharks are those who has less than 1,000 Bitcoin, but has more than 10 Bitcoin. So that middle class of big investors, and they can actually accumulate for a lot. But as the ETF buyers, if you look at this, strong ETF inflows and accumulation across all BTC investor groups suggest the rally is just getting started. Spot Bitcoin ETF saw 2.2 billion in net inflows over 1 week, the second largest ever. A rare cylinder chart suggests that 450 to 500,000 is in play this cycle. Now, I would just ignore this 450 to 500,000 and the cylinder chart. These charts are total BS, but I do think like 200,000 is in play because of the strong rate of Bitcoin inflows. And BlackRock recently has just passed over 100 billion in AUM in terms of like how much Bitcoin they hold. And there's even more coming. If you look at this, Luxembourg sovereign wealth fund dips into Bitcoin ETFs with 1% stake. Now, it's not a lot. Obviously, it's only 1%, but it's just a start. They might dip more into it, and other countries might actually follow. So this is an actual country that's actually committing and putting down the money, and that's a big deal because a lot of the others are theoretical, or we might do it. This is like, we are going to do it. So Luxembourg's sovereign wealth fund has allocated 1% of its 900 million portfolio, or about $9 million, into Bitcoin ETFs. Now, obviously, that's very little. And Luxembourg as a country is very small. They're very wealthy, but they're very small, so it's not like a major country putting 1% of their sovereign wealth fund into Bitcoin ETFs. Even 900 million would actually not be a lot. And 9 million is basically just child's play in terms of Bitcoin ETFs, because BlackRock has like 100 billion, obviously. But let's be honest, if Luxembourg dives in, some of the other richer countries might actually dive in as well. And like any country that like physically commits, any like let's say any non-third world country that physically commits and Luxembourg is a first world country, obviously, that physically commits and actually puts money down is very, very much bullish news for crypto. So Luxembourg's sovereign wealth fund has allocated 1% of its portfolio to Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, marking one of the first such moves by a European state-backed investment entity. This is Europe, and hopefully it spurs the rest of Europe to do this as well, because that would be awesome. Luxembourg Director of the Treasury and Secretary General Bob Kiefer noted that investment in Wednesday LinkedIn post. He said Finance Minister Gilles Roth has revealed the decision during his presentation at the 2026 Budget and Chambre de Deputies. So basically, like, people that are managing these like first world country sovereign wealth funds definitely see the value in Bitcoin. And remember, this is not just like, oh, theoretically we could invest in Bitcoin, or like, we're going to invest in Bitcoin in a year or two, or we're looking at investing in Bitcoin. They've actually put the money down. And I think this will spur other countries, maybe like the UAE, to put part of their much, much bigger sovereign wealth fund into Bitcoin. And this is all going to get to upward pressure. So this is why I think the 4-year cycle may no longer be valid, and why we might actually be pushed up for far longer than people actually expect. And there's also like the precious metals investors that could actually rotate into Bitcoin. Remember, gold and silver prices are essentially like, well, gold's at all-time highs, and some people are saying it's overheated. I don't necessarily believe that, because gold is seen as a hedge against the economy more than anything else, and I don't think people are going to randomly like get an idea that the economy is changing anytime, especially with our debt increases and with this government shutdown. So I think gold's going to continue to increase, but I think like some of the money that people are looking to put into gold, because the price is so high, might come into Bitcoin as an alternative asset to hedge against US economy. And Bitcoin is trying to market itself as a hedge. So obviously, like, precious metals have experienced record highs in 2025, making Bitcoin relatively undervalued, positioning Bitcoin for a strong Q4 rally. But let's not forget, in the previous couple of years, Bitcoin obviously has outperformed precious metals by a lot. So it might just be this cycle of rotation. And this is true, a lot of money is going to come into Bitcoin, especially as interest rates comes down. And although crypto is more risky and Bitcoin is still more risky than gold, some of that money might actually shift as rates come down. Precious metals are soaring in response to the US dollar debasement. I think the DXY did just go up today, with gold hitting $4,000 per ounce and silver reaching a 45-year high of $50 per ounce. Now, silver is not at an all-time high. It was much higher like 50 years ago. JP Morgan controls the price of silver, and it's in everyone's interest that silver's price, besides the people that hold silver, obviously, that silver price doesn't go up too high, because a lot of things actually use silver, and the demand actually outstrips the supply of silver we're actually mining. And we don't want stuff like electronics to get super expensive, which they will if silver gets super expensive. So there is actually a need to keep silver's price down, but the demand could actually drive it up. Gold's more than 50% rally so far this year, coupled with Goldman Sachs' forecast of $4,900 per ounce by the end of 2026, which is next year. So they think it'll go up another $1,000. Suggests the metal is overheated, according to Nick Puckrin, founder of Coin Bureau Education Company. I mean, Coin Bureau obviously has a tilt towards towards Bitcoin. So I would take his words with a grain of salt. Like I said, I think gold is directly related to how much people believe in the economy right now. And the answer to that question is not much. Since there is not much belief in the economy right now, I think gold is going to continue to draw investments. But some of the new investments might actually come into Bitcoin, because some people might see gold as too high, and Bitcoin hasn't quite had the rally that gold has this year. So after more than a 50% rally in the gold price year to date, attention may turn to other alternatives that express similar view, i.e. Bitcoin. These include other metals and commodities, tokenized real assets, and Bitcoin, which remain undervalued against gold. And this might be where the narrative of digital gold might actually come in handy. We will actually see. I'm not sure. Puckrin added that these assets all serve as hedges against fiat currency inflation and geopolitical uncertainty. That is true. So some of the money in the less risky asset might move into the seemingly more risky asset. And that is because people kind of see Bitcoin as a more risky asset than gold, but it kind of serves the same purpose. And as interest rates come down, people might want to flow into the more risky asset for greater gains. And people might actually see gold at $4,000 or $5,000. The amount to gain isn't that much anymore, and Bitcoin has more to actually gain in Bitcoin and altcoins. So that's kind of why you need to buy as well. October has been kind of sideways so far, except for the initial pump. Obviously, altcoins haven't pumped, but Bitcoin at an all-time high basically like takes the possibility of the ceiling of altcoins higher. Plus, like you have Bitcoin's record inflows in ETFs, and that could actually flow out back out to altcoins as altcoin ETFs actually get approved. Plus, you have like Luxembourg signing on to buy some Bitcoin. Although it's not much, it might start an avalanche slash cascade of other countries in, and that might actually be really good for Bitcoin as well. So there's a lot of things working in BTC's favor right now and altcoins' favor right now. And I definitely think like there's going to be enough people, desperate people, to actually invest in some of these meme coins and some of these other altcoins as well. Once again, like Solana and some of the other networks that are going to be getting ETFs, I think might benefit the most. So you want coins with like good DeFi ecosystems, a lot of vibrant use in the ecosystem, and also an ETF coming up. Solana checks all three, but there are others like Sui that might check all three that actually have more potential that you might actually want to look at. So overall, that is why you should be coming into crypto. That's why you should be coming into altcoins. And the thing is, like, if they ever announce the end of the government shutdown, that might be your signal to actually buy right then, because I think things will actually go up pretty fast after that. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.